Did you know that there's an airplane that took off at least 8 times with its wings fully folded and landed successfully, and that one of these incidents occurred in complete darkness during torrential rain when the pilot forgot to deploy the wings after circling a Boeing 707? And that this same aircraft, nicknamed the Last Gunman, was the last American fighter designed with cannons as its primary armament and had a unique pivoting wing that could bank 7 degrees for takeoffs and landings? In this video, we reveal the incredible story of the F-8 Crusader, the naval fighter that dominated the skies over Vietnam, that pilots adored for its extreme maneuverability, and whose robust design enabled aerial feats that defied all engineering logic. The Vought F-8 Crusader represents one of the most innovative and successful designs of the supersonic fighter era. Developed in the mid-1950s, the Crusader was the last American-designed fighter with cannons as its primary armament, earning it the nickname the Last Gunslinger. At a time when guided missiles were rapidly replacing traditional weapons, the F-8 retained 4 20mm Colt Mk-12 cannons mounted in the sides of the forward fuselage, each with 144 rounds. What truly made the Crusader unique was its innovative variable-incidence wing. Unlike other fighters where the wings remained fixed to the fuselage, the F-8's entire wing could be swept upward by 7 degrees during takeoff and landing. This ingenious design solved a fundamental problem for high-performance fighters. They need wings with high angles of attack to generate sufficient lift at low speeds during landing, but this creates an excessively raked fuselage that hinders the pilot's visibility and can cause the tail to strike the aircraft carrier deck. The Crusader's pivoting wing system allowed the wing to tilt upwards while the fuselage remained relatively level, providing the pilot with excellent visibility during carrier approaches and dramatically reducing the risk of tail strikes. The hydraulic mechanism controlling the system was robust and reliable, operating via a central actuator under the fuselage that raised the entire wing assembly. Let's pause here to invite you to like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the video so far. The F-8 was powered by a Pratt & Whitney J57 turbojet engine that generated approximately 4,800 kilograms of thrust without afterburner and 7,700 kilograms with afterburner engaged. This power allowed the Crusader to reach supersonic speeds of Mach 1.7, equivalent to 1,800 kilometers per hour at altitude. The plane had a wingspan of 10.9 meters when the wings were. The wings could be fully deployed, but could be folded up for carrier storage, reducing its width to just 5.5 meters. For carrier operations, the F-8's outer wings were manually folded up by a hydraulic mechanism. This folding occurred at approximately half the wingspan, allowing multiple Crusaders to be parked compactly on carrier flight decks and hangars. The folding mechanism was designed with multiple safety locks to ensure the wings remained firmly in the deployed position during flight. The Crusader entered service with the U.S. Navy in March 1957, serving with distinction for over 3 decades. During the Vietnam War, F-8s achieved 19 confirmed air-to-air victories against North Vietnamese MiGs, the most of any U.S. naval fighter during the conflict. Pilots loved the Crusader for its exceptional maneuverability, impressive speed, and mechanical reliability. The F-8 also set multiple speed and altitude records during its operational career. In July 1957, Commander Duke Windsor set a U.S. transcontinental speed record by flying an F-8U-1P from California to New York in 3 hours and 42 minutes, averaging 1,540 kilometers per hour. This record demonstrated both the Crusader's high-performance capabilities and the skill of expert pilots to extract its full potential. However, despite all its innovations and operational successes, the F-8 Crusader would become most famous for something completely unexpected: its seemingly impossible ability to fly with its wings folded. The first documented incident of an F-8 Crusader flying with its wings folded occurred in August 1960 at Capodichino Airport in Naples, Italy. A U.S. Navy pilot was preparing for a routine mission. After completing taxiing procedures, the pilot lined up his Crusader on the runway and applied full power. The J-57 roared as the aircraft accelerated down the runway, reaching takeoff speed and lifting off. The pilot retracted the landing gear and began his initial climb, reaching approximately 1,500 meters, 4,000 feet. As he leveled off for cruise flight, he noticed something odd. The control stick required an unusual amount of pressure to keep the aircraft level. The Crusader felt heavy, responding slowly to control inputs. Something was definitely wrong. The pilot immediately began scanning his instruments and the exterior of the aircraft, searching for the cause of the abnormal behavior. When he turned his head to check the wings, his heart must have stopped. The outer sections of the wings were folded vertically. It had taken off with its wings fully folded, upright in its storage position. At this critical moment, the pilot demonstrated the extraordinary composure that defines the finest naval aviators. Instead of panicking or immediately attempting to return the aircraft to the ground, he made a calculated decision. He would carefully explore how the aircraft behaved in this impossible configuration while jettisoning fuel to reduce landing weight. For the next 24 minutes, the pilot performed smooth maneuvers to evaluate the Crusader's flight characteristics with its wings folded. He discovered that while the aircraft certainly flew differently than normal, it remained controllable. The control surfaces responded, albeit with increased drag. The aircraft held altitude and could turn, albeit with wider turning radii than normal. The explanation for why the F-8 could fly in this configuration lies in its unique aerodynamic design. The Crusader's wings folded relatively outward along the wingspan, approximately 40% from the wing root. This meant that when the wings were folded, a substantial portion of the wing near the fuselage, approximately 60% of the total wing area, remained horizontal and generated lift. More importantly, the F-8's variable-incidence wing system was fully functional regardless of the wing's folded position. The pilot could still pivot the entire wing assembly upward by 7 degrees, significantly increasing the angle of attack and the lift generated by the unfolded wing sections. This unique feature was likely critical for maintaining controlled flight with the wingtips folded. After 24 minutes of impromptu test flight, the pilot returned to Capodichino Airport. The approach was considerably faster than normal. The pilot needed to maintain higher speeds to generate sufficient lift from the reduced wing sections. The landing was quick but uneventful. The Crusader taxied down the runway and came to a safe stop. Vought engineers were simultaneously horrified and fascinated when they learned of the incident. They immediately inspected the aircraft for structural damage. Surprisingly, they found minimal damage. The wing folding mechanism had experienced some stress from the unusual aerodynamic loads during flight, but nothing that couldn't be repaired. After relatively minor repairs, the aircraft was returned to service. However, senior Navy officers were far from pleased. The pilot was severely reprimanded for failing to properly complete his pre-flight checklist, which specifically included verifying that the wings were fully deployed and locked. Nevertheless, his calm handling of the emergency and his decision to explore the flight envelope rather than hastily attempt a landing. The emergency response likely saved both his life and a very valuable aircraft. This incident should have been a one-off. Tragically, it wasn't. The story of the F-8 Crusader's folded wing flight in Naples in 1960 was not an isolated incident. Over the following decades, at least 7 more Crusader pilots inadvertently took off with their wings folded. Several of these incidents occurred during the Vietnam War under particularly challenging operational conditions. The most dramatic and dangerous incident took place in 1966 at Da Nang Air Base in South Vietnam. One night during torrential rain, a pilot from the Marine Corps' VMF AW-235 Death Angels squadron folded his wings to taxi around a Pan Am Boeing 707 parked on the ramp. In his haste to take off for an urgent combat mission, he forgot to unfold his wings. He lifted off in total darkness in the pouring rain, likely setting the Crusader's nighttime ground speed record. The pilot realized something was terribly wrong when he was assaulted by a storm of flashing warning lights, green and red lights on the wingtips above his head, multiple orange stabilizer boost warning lights blinking with every movement of the controls. Unsure of what was wrong, he declared an emergency and turned back to Da Nang. In the chaos of warning lights, rain, pitch black, and understandable panic, the pilot made another mistake. He forgot to lower his landing gear. More astonishingly, he was carrying two 2,000-pound box-fin bombs in wing stations. He landed directly on top of these two 2,000-pound bombs with a mighty whomp. Miraculously, neither detonated. The pilot survived but was medically evacuated to the mainland United States with fractured vertebrae. A second folded wing incident in 1967 in the same squadron was photographed by Marine Sergeant Major George Lord. The iconic photograph shows an F-8E flying low with its wings folded vertically, providing irrefutable visual evidence of this seemingly impossible phenomenon. The aircraft landed successfully with its wings still folded after approximately half an hour of flight. Hundreds of hours of structural repairs were required before the aircraft could fly again. On January 22, 1968, a pilot from VF-53 Squadron aboard the USS Bon Richard took off at night with his wings folded during carrier landing practice exercises. When he noticed the abnormal flight behavior and contacted air traffic control, he was informed that his wings were folded. Recalling engineering reports of previous incidents, he followed the critical advice. Under no circumstances should you attempt to unfold your wings in flight. Doing so would cause the pilot to lose control. The pilot carefully flew back to the aircraft carrier and executed a successful arresting landing at speeds of 170 to 100.80 knots, significantly faster than normal Crusader landings. The only damage was to the wing folding mechanism, which bent due to the unusual aerodynamic forces. The aircraft was repaired and returned to service. Even French Air Force aircraft operating Crusaders experienced this phenomenon. In one instance, a French pilot took off with folded wings during an air show in Belgium. Under the circumstances, the pilot could have claimed he did it intentionally as a stunt. These repeated incidents eventually led to improvements in operational procedures and hardware modifications. More rigorous checklist verifications were implemented. Additional warning and locking switches were added to the wing folding system. Pilot training emphasized wing checks as a critical safety item. And that concludes this incredible story of the F-8 Crusader, the last gunslinger that could fly even with folded wings. If you've been fascinated by these seemingly impossible feats of naval aviation and want to continue learning about military aviation history, revolutionary aircraft designs, and the stories behind the most legendary planes, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. See you in the next video where we will continue exploring the wonders of historical military aviation.